Good morning. The Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation will come to order. The clerk is directed in the previous vote to show Senator Hickenlooper as voting in person rather than by proxy. Good morning to each of our witnesses. It has been nearly 1 year since the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024 was signed into law. I was proud to co-lead that effort in the Senate, along with Ranking Member Cantwell. As we're seeing today, in the wake of a major aviation tragedy, repeated staffing challenges, and technological failures, the 2024 Act was unfortunately quite prescient. It mandated an audit of all legacy pre-2000 air traffic control systems to assess operational risk, functionality, security, and compatibility with current and future technologies. An additional requirement ensures the FAA notifies Congress of unfunded priorities not in the budget request that are integral to the operation of the national airspace. It also directed the FAA and airports to adopt new runway technology to cut down on the high number of near misses on airport runways.
What's going on, fellow patriots? Welcome back to the channel where we speak the truth, call out the nonsense, and stand up for American values no matter how unpopular that might be in D.C. these days. If you're tired of government failure, bureaucratic incompetence, and a White House more concerned with identity politics than national safety, you're in the right place. Today, we're reacting to an incredibly important video from featuring none other than Senator Ted Cruz, a real conservative fighter in a sea of weak-kneed bureaucrats. He's breaking down the absolute mess at the FAA, a mess that's putting American lives at risk and exposing the cracks in our government-run airspace system. And folks, it's time we call it what it is, government failure, plain and simple.
It's clear that there is a dire need to fix our troubled airspace. Last week, President Trump and Secretary Duffy proposed a major plan to replace vast segments of the national airspace system: radars, towers, telecommunications, and more. Secretary Duffy previously announced new policies to attract more air traffic controllers, improve their training, and incentivize good controllers to stay in the workforce longer. These upgrades are overdue, and I hope there will be bipartisan support for them. I am committed to helping Secretary Duffy get the resources he needs to address acute problems like replacing existing unreliable copper lines with faster fiber at facilities managing the Newark airspace and other areas as well. But the FAA's multi-year failure to keep pace with technology and staffing needs underscores a larger problem when a bureaucracy has to fund and manage multi-year projects on behalf of private sector stakeholders like airlines and general aviation, all while acting simultaneously as a safety regulator. The challenge of quickly and properly implementing new multi-billion-dollar mission-critical tech systems is about to become even more daunting with the arrival of air taxis and commercial drones. If you think the FAA, as currently constructed, is ready for the challenge, then you haven't been paying close attention over the last 2 decades. Congress and the administration must think boldly about how we can set the FAA up for long-term success. Both our economy's productive capacity and the safety of the nation's airspace depend on it. Regarding the arrival of air taxis and commercial drones, the 2024 law took meaningful steps to accelerate the safe integration of these new entrants into the nation's skies. Most notably, the FAA bill required a rulemaking to enable drones to operate beyond visual line of sight, a huge priority for the growth of the drone industry. The Biden administration, unfortunately, missed the bill's deadline of September. The bill also directed the establishment of a new Center for Advanced Aviation Technologies, a provision that I authored, which was recently announced to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and will be headed up by the Texas A&M system. The center will play an extremely important role for the advancement of new technologies, and I'm thankful for the work Secretary Duffy and the FAA has played in moving it forward. Ensuring that the 2024 law is implemented in line with the statutory timelines and consistent with congressional intent is of paramount importance to this committee. and I appreciate my colleagues' commitment to maintaining robust oversight of the process. Finally, I want to express my continued condolences to the families of American Airlines Flight 5342. Thank you for turning your tragedy into tireless advocacy. I remain dedicated to ensuring and doing everything possible to make sure that something like this never happens again. And it is precisely why members of the committee hear directly from the FAA about the steps it's taking to create a safer and more efficient airspace. I look forward to hearing about the progress the administration is making on these critical issues.
Now, let's get into what Senator Cruz said and why every American, especially those of us who actually believe in a strong, free, and safe nation, should be paying attention. First off, let's give credit where credit is due. Ted Cruz co-led the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024. This wasn't some fluff bill. This was a real piece of legislation trying to pull our aviation system out of the Stone Age. And as Cruz pointed out, it couldn't have come at a better time. We've had near-miss accidents, outdated equipment, and not enough people to even run the show. Meanwhile, what is the Biden administration doing? Playing catch-up and badly. Folks, imagine trying to run your iPhone on software from 1998. That's what the FAA is doing with our air traffic control systems. Legacy systems from before Y2K. That's not just inefficient, it's dangerous. Cruz called for an audit of all pre-2000 systems. Absolutely right. But let's ask the bigger question, why wasn't this done 10 years ago? Why are we only waking up after near tragedies? Do you know how many runway near misses we've had? It's not just scary, it's inexcusable. The Reauthorization Act forces the FAA to adopt new tech. But again, why does it take an act of Congress to do something so basic? You don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that safety should be priority one. Senator Cruz also touched on the shortage of air traffic controllers. Let me say, we are in a workforce crisis, and it's not just limited to aviation. The Biden economy has destroyed incentive we can discipline and encourage mediocrity. Who wants to work long hours in a high-pressure job when this administration promises handouts and glorifies laziness? We need more recruitment, more training, and better incentives for excellence, not equity hires and social engineering. Cruz hit the nail on the head when he said the FAA is drowning in bureaucracy. Look, we've got an agency that's trying to regulate safety, modernize billion-dollar systems, and satisfy every woke stakeholder in the process. You know what that produces? A slow-moving train wreck. The FAA needs to get out of its own way, and that starts with leadership that actually understands aviation and isn't just looking to climb the DC ladder. President Trump and Secretary Duffy are trying to overhaul the system with real infrastructure towers, radars, telecom upgrades. You won't hear the mainstream media talk about it, but this is what we need: vision, guts, and American-made solutions. And just like Cruz said, these upgrades are overdue. The left won't support them unless it includes climate audits and DI checkboxes. Enough. Let's rebuild what actually matters. Now we're entering new territory: air taxis and drones. This isn't science fiction anymore, folks. These things are coming fast. But the FAA isn't ready, not even close. If you think the current FAA can handle high-volume commercial drone traffic or air taxis in urban centers, then you haven't been paying attention. This is why we need serious reform, not Band-Aid solutions. One of the most telling moments? Cruz pointed out how the Biden administration missed the deadline for drone regulations. It's in the law. It's the FAA's job. And they still dropped the ball. Why? Because this administration is more focused on pronouns and progress. You think China's drone industry is waiting for diversity training to finish before moving forward? Not a chance. Let's talk about the good news. Cruz fought for a new Center for Advanced Aviation Technologies, and it's going to be run by Texas A/M in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's what leadership looks like. Invest in innovation, back with American brains, and put in a red state that knows how to get things done. Big win for Texas. Big win for America. Finally, Cruz reminded us all why this matters. He mentioned the families of American Airlines Flight 5342 and thanked them for turning their grief into action. Let me tell you something, this is what we fight for. Real people, real families, real safety. Not abstract theories and political games. If government can't even keep our skies safe, what business do they have managing anything else? Look, folks, the FAA is supposed to be the gold standard of safety and innovation. But after decades of mismanagement, it's barely holding on. We need reform. We need leadership. And most of all, we need accountability. Ted Cruz is doing his job, now it's time we do ours. Call your representatives. Demand action. Share this video. And if you believe in safe skies, strong borders, and a government that works for we the people, then hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell, because we're just getting started. This is Conservative Chronicle, signing off. God bless you. God bless our airspace, and God bless the United States of America.